Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's videos. We received an interesting letter from Grandmaster Hawkins about the historical context of distance learning. For those of you who don't know Grandmaster Hawkins, he and his wife, Mrs. Fran Hawkins, founded Family Karate all the way back on July 4th, 1971. And so this begins our 50th year of Family Karate, and I really hope that you'll help us do the next 50 years together. So the story is that Grandmaster Hawkins and Mrs. Hawkins were living in Texas, and they competed in enduro motorcycle racing. In fact, Mrs. Hawkins became a regional champion. But it's a sport that's really tough on the body, and Mrs. Hawkins started having back problems from that intense riding and racing. So she decided to do less demanding sport, karate. So somehow they came across Grandmaster Burleson, who was by that time a legend in Texas and national karate championships. And they both trained with him. And when Master Hawkins earned his brown belt, he began teaching with Master Burleson, and then with Master Burleson's blessing, then they moved back to California, formed a martial arts school in Escondido, California, a little closet-sized school downtown that became the genesis of Family Karate that we have today. Then he flew back to Texas, and in that same summer tested for his black belt outdoors in a park that was 105 degrees in the shade, but as Grandmaster Hawkins says, there was no shade. So it was a really rough test, but he's since gone on to earn his Grandmastership under Grandmaster Burleson, so we're really proud of our family tree. Anyway, here's the letter that Grandmaster Hawkins sent us. In today's constricted learning environment, I would like to point out the following. In ancient times, martial arts students had to travel days to interact with their instructors. The instructors would work with the students and then assign forms and exercises for the students to practice on their own to improve their ability and performance. Often, the student would not see their instructor for many months. However, if they followed the instructor's guidance and instruction, their improvement would be dramatic. Today, we're presented with a similar situation based on a different dynamic. Because of health concerns, we are faced with a similar distance learning situation. The advantage we have now over the ancient masters is the internet. We have the opportunity and ability to train at a distance, removing the possibility of viral contamination. I admire the efforts of our schools to protect our students from possible disease exposure. I would like to advise all of our students to take full advantage of the opportunities that we have today. Remember, just like in ancient times, distance learning is only as good as the student's adherence to the suggested exercises and practices. So, thanks to Grandmaster Burleson and Master Hawkins and Mrs. Hawkins for creating this for us and for also giving us historical context on what we're doing today. Enjoy the videos and practice everything that's suggested in them. Thank you. So for our warm-ups today, we're going to take a fun exercise from Spider Fit Kids, and hope you go and look them up online. I'll send you a link as well. A little exercise that we can all do. Hopefully you'll have space in your living room that you can do it safely, or your backyard you can do it safely. But this is the way we're going to warm up. It's from different positions, getting up and going and coming back to the position. So I'll give you a couple of examples, and I'll tell you what position to get into to run. So here are a couple of examples. So one is start in push-up position, and then as quick as you can, get your feet underneath you and run as fast as you can to the mark, and then come back. Okay, so push-up position, and then a couple of ways you can do this. One is you can jump up with both feet and then start running forward. Make sure you always look where you're going. And other one is just start from push-up position, bring one leg in front of you in a sprinting position, and then push off that leg and come through. Okay? So that's one. All right? So next one, we could be on our backs in our stretch number 4 position. Just tuck one leg underneath you, push forward, and get up and go. All right? So again, stretch number 4, get your belt high in the air, Then you'll need to come down so that you can, without putting any knees on the ground, get going forward like that, okay? So lots and lots of positions we can use. So moms and dads, be creative and run your kids through this drill. You get started in this position like this, right? Then bring one leg in front of them and get going, okay? So some of these you may need to model for them. This, here, and go really fast, okay? So they can be on their backs, it can be on their tummies, be flat on the floor, you can jump up. But moms and dads, just be as creative as you can. Kids, be as careful as you can, and make sure that you're going as quickly as you safely can do, there and back, and come back and do a new position, and go again. So a few of these will help you get warmed up, and then we'll come back and we'll do some new work for your belt today. So yesterday we spent lots of time working on forms, practicing them, videoing them, making sure that we were making progress on every piece of our form. And so go back to that as often as you can and improve those. We'll be watching you in a few days, or certainly by next week, on those as you test for your new belts. But today we're going to move on to how to create sparring combinations. And we're going to take a pretty in-depth look at this. So this is just the heart of martial arts, and it's also an event that we're going to watch you do. If you have a partner there, or you can do it on your sparring bag or something, some way you can demonstrate it for us. So let's talk about this. Whether you are initiating an attack or whether you're defending against an attack, as long as you don't get hit, or even if you do, you want to be making sure that you're counterattacking, right? So attack and counterattack against strikes coming in. So let's give you some ideas about this. So first of all, we want to, as much as possible, be using our lead hand to generate the initial movement. So whether we're moving in, whether we're moving back, whether we're lateraling, we want to use our lead hand as much as possible to keep the target in front of us, and also to be able to reach with a weapon that's closer to the target to start with. So let's just start out with some basics here. So we have to be able to move front, back, left, right, circle, angle. We have to be able to be mobile. So really important to be mobile. That gives us much less chance of getting hit in the first place. But then when we're creating these combinations, we're going to use lead hand or lead foot a lot first. Okay, so let's think about this. So let's just practice this basic combination first. So jab, 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 cross. 1, 2, 3, overhand. Jab, 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 backhand. All right, so whether you're moving forward, whether you're moving back, whether you're moving on all 4 of those shots, this is a combination that can really keep the person in front of you lined up, measured, and then bring the other hand once they overreact or make a mistake. So let's practice this again. Front, 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 back. And what I'd like you to do is practice it moving backwards, 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 or forward, 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 or back, 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 circle away, back, 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 angle away. All right, so there are lots of different ways that you can do this. So let's take a second. I hope that you have a bag close by or something that you can use as a target. So let's go do this 10 times with your weak side leading, and then 20 times with your other side leading. Okay, so let's try both sides of our body, 10 on one side, 20 on the other side. You know which side needs 20. And then come back and we'll work on putting some kicks with this combination. Okay, so welcome back. So let's talk about putting kicks with this combination now. So one of the ways we can build combinations is to get really comfortable with 2, 3 moves and then just start adding to them. So we'll start out with this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hands back in and bring your rear leg. Now you have to be really, really confident coming with your rear leg, because we've made the distance by knocking the person away with the punch,
or having the person run away from the punch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But make sure your elbows are tucked in and your hands are protecting your head when you're bringing that foot through. Get more power by transferring your body weight through that, in other words, by moving forward, and also by thrusting your hips. So 1, 2, 3, and 5 on the kick. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, kick. Now, this kick can be a lot of different things, and as Grandmaster Hawkins always said, kick the person where they want to be kicked. That is when they're leaving open for you. So let's practice just this combination. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you can be moving forward from it, you could be moving back from it. Totally depends on what you see the other person doing on what you need to do there. Okay, so let's go practice that one, hopefully on a bag or in the air or in front of a mirror on both sides of your body. Let's do 10 and 10, and then come back and we'll work on some other combinations. Okay, welcome back. So let's look at some other things that we could do from that same hand, 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 foot combination. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then inward crescent or inward axe kick. All right, so totally depends on what's available and what target you want to go through. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, inward axe kick means that we're going halfway, just as close as we can, close to the person's hip, close to the person's shoulder, and then cut straight down. So stay close, tight to the person as you come through. Now they really, really have to be paying attention to this hand. You can see that by either turning their head or moving away or putting all the weight on their back leg because they're leaning away from us. So as that backhand comes through and you see the reaction, then bring the other foot over the top, and hopefully they won't see that coming, or if they do, it'll be too late. So when you're doing that in sparring, suggestion is reach out with the ball of your foot on that one. Reach out with the ball of your foot so that if you happen to touch the person, you'll just be slapping them lightly. Also, it'll give you more reach too. So a couple of reasons to reach out with your foot on that one, okay? We can bring any foot behind this backhand, back foot behind the backhand, if you see the reaction. So I just gave you one example, but it could be anything from here. Round kick, side kick, all right? But you have to create the opening and you have to create the distance by getting the person to pay attention to the shot. So another wonderful tip I learned from Grandmaster Hawkins, probably the second time I ever sparred 100 years ago, was the only good fake is a shot that missed. In other words, I'm trying to touch you, I'm trying to hit you, I just didn't quite get there. That will certainly make you believe it. Why? Because I believed it, because I was really trying to get there. So that's a psychological thing. In other words, the person doesn't think that you're really coming after them, then they've got no reason to move, they've got no reason to react, and they will immediately have the confidence to be able to dominate back. So you're trying to set the agenda, you're trying to set the time, you're trying to set the distance, you're trying to set the angle, you're trying to set which side is forward, you're trying to get everything that you possibly can in your favor. Whether you're playing a ring game and you're playing to the judges, or whether you're playing in a black belt test situation, you really want to be able to control that. So these are some of the things that you can do. So building on combinations. Again, another way we can jab or lead off in a straight line is with our foot, right? So front kick is a lot of times the simplest one to pick up, and we can, again, move in, we can fade back, and we can slide inside. You have to be really careful not to cross your feet on the outside. You have to open up your front foot first, but that's not as quick. So as a person is aggressing on you, if they've got their hands up high or they've created an opening, then you can punch underneath it with your foot. So remember, anytime a person has their hand leave their body, their elbows leave their body, they're creating an opening, okay? So watch for those openings and jump into it, okay? Jump into those openings. May seem like foot takes a long time to get there, but actually, if you already have your foot unweighted, maybe by stepping back or just by transferring your weight slightly, then you can come off with your front foot and then follow up with your hands. So one of the things we want to do, as I just showed you, is after the kick, we want to be in the habit of following with our hands, okay? So lots of us have the habit of multiple kicks, but it's really a good idea to not have your foot off the ground for too long. Just one is enough. Get it down on the ground, but as you land, there should be a hand coming behind you, okay? So try to get in that habit of leading kicks with hands. So let's say 1, 2, 3, bang, and following kicks with hands, okay? Hands means that we have way better balance, way more mobility, and have way more power, okay? So yes, I know legs are longer and stronger, but generally people can hit much harder with their hands, partly because we have this strong base, okay? So let's go over those principles again. Number one is, whether you're attacking or defending, use front hand or front foot to keep the person off you. Lots of people prefer side kick, just has a little bit more power. It's great, at the hip or low center of gravity on that one. And then follow with hands, right? So if you're going to kick, follow with hands. If you're going to kick, lead with hands, all right? So something like hand, foot, hand would be a great way to set up a continuous combination. So once we've got combinations that we're really comfortable with, we need to focus on our strengths. So what are we best at? What do we feel like we have the most success with? And keep building on those, okay? So if you really like round kick, for example, so how can we set that up with the front foot? Coming with the back foot without cover is a really bad idea. It's very telegraphic, and it just takes a long time to get there. So this is why we're talking about, make sure you're always covering with your hands before that back foot comes. But you could certainly do lead leg round kick. So hands up, lead leg round kick. And it's a round kick, remember, is going to the side of the head or back of the head. And so that's bringing you pretty close to the person. So even somebody your own height, you would be within hand range of them when you're round kicking. So you've got to be really conscious of that. Side kick and front kick can keep us a little bit away from somebody who has arms as long as ours, but round kick means you're coming in tight to them, right? So just a couple of considerations. Same thing, clearing kicks or kicks that cross the line of advance. So kicks that cross the line of advance when somebody's coming in on you are things like outward crescent. These are not stopping kicks, right? So stopping kicks are like side kicks or front kicks, but these are kicks that just kind of clear the area. So hand coming up, you knock it out of the way, or hand coming, you can just come through that. Again, this is not for self-defense, this is for ring game. This is for the ring game, okay? So kicks that another one that kind of comes across that area is hook kick. So you hook kick across. So instead of going side to side, just bring it in the front, This can go through arms, and so can crescent kicks just go through arms, especially if they're not held strongly. So lots of ways you can clear the space in front of you and create a force field, if you will, with your kicks, okay? So we can set those up. So front leg outward crescent, we could come jab, cross, jab. On that last jab, you couldn't see my feet, but on my last jab, what I did was bring my weight underneath me on my back foot. So here my weight was on my front foot a little bit more. Now, again, it rotated to my front foot, and when I rotated this one, I brought my weight down over my back foot, and then I could pick up this one. And again, I want to come straight back off it and cover again with this, okay? So front foot, front hand as much as possible, lead with your hands, then your feet. Repeat after the kick, the hands set up that you're going to do for the next kick. So jab, jab, cross, outward crescent, for example. Jab, jab, cross, and hook kick, for example, right? So any of the kicks you would. So another day we'll get to spinning kicks and turning kicks, but remember, these are mostly art kicks, okay? And it takes a long time to recover from them. Even side kick means you have to come up and out of this before you turn. So out of a side kick, if you're using it defensively or you're using it to make distance, and we'll do another day on breaking distance and creating distance. But if you're using a side kick, it means maybe hammer fist reverse punch or side kick back fist reverse punch. So it's kind of traveling the same way and giving you this transition from this lateral movement to forward movement, okay? So hopefully this helps. Let's practice lots of combinations. I'd love to see them when you video them, but one more time. Lead foot, lead hand. Make sure that your hands are giving cover for your back leg anytime you're doing that. And anytime after you kick, make sure there are hands coming behind it. So hopefully this will be helpful to you. Practice these combinations. I'd love to see on your testing what combinations you've come up with, but I want to make sure that that's safe, okay? One quick thing, obviously, is hands up entirely when we're kicking. So one hand leaves our body, other hand leaves our body, and then back into a tight, compact defensive position before we're allowing the kick. It's just too easy when we're focusing on kicks to allow the hand, especially on the kicking side, to drop. So just get in the habit of elbows in, hands up, and cover kicks with a defensive posture for your head, okay? All right, everybody, so looking forward to seeing how this helps you in your sparring. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, so I hope we got started on really being conscious of being more kind and more compassionate and more patient yesterday, and also got started on our pull-up challenge. So I think I'm going to be doing my 50 as well as 50 for another one of our black belt instructors who will remain unnamed, who has arm problem right now, but doesn't seem to be able to remember the name of his doctor or find his way there. Anyway, so I also wanted to check in with you about how we did on No Complaints challenge yesterday. I certainly could have done a lot better, especially about the speed that YouTube was loading last night. Anyway, I'm glad those videos are finally up. So one thing I'm sure you noticed, that when we try to stop complaining, we hear how much other people are doing it. Well, let's not complain about that, otherwise we'll be feeding two monsters. So let's keep this challenge for one more day, but from a new perspective. Complaining is often about how we are victims and explaining that to other people. So monsters drool over victims. One of our black belts, Joe Garvin, says, "I'm glad I have these problems and not those problems." Dr. Joe is exactly right. Our monster will shrink when he hears us stop complaining about the problems we have and start being grateful for the problems we don't have. So today, less about not complaining and more about having more gratitude. Sorry, it's that time again. Instructor jokes. As you can see, I'm wearing my green for St. Paddy's Day. So, why do people wear shamrocks on their lapels on St. Patrick's Day? Because regular rocks are too heavy. Okay, that was so bad. One more. What do you get when you cross poison ivy with a four-leaf clover? A rash of good luck. Thanks. See you tomorrow.